I thought I was just getting a routine surgery, something simple that would help me feel better. But the moment I heard her whisper, everything changed. Imagine lying there, your body feeling like it's sinking into the bed, the anesthesia slowly taking hold. You can't move, can barely keep your eyes open, but somehow you're aware. Every sound, every breath. I was there, about to undergo a procedure I'd been preparing for weeks. It should have been simple, right? But then, I heard my mom's voice. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. It wasn't loud. In fact, it was a whisper, barely audible over the sterile hum of the hospital room. But what she said, I'll never forget it. My body felt frozen, but my mind was wide awake, struggling to grasp the meaning of the words she whispered. I was 17, lying on an operating table in a room filled with the smell of antiseptic and the hum of machines. The nurses had already prepped me for the surgery. I was supposed to be getting a minor procedure to treat some recent health issues. Nothing major, just a quick fix that would help me get back to my normal life. But even as the IV drip flowed into my arm, something felt off. The whole thing didn't sit right. I could see the concern in my mom's eyes, even as she tried to put on a brave face. Her hands were cold as she held mine, but it wasn't her touch I was worried about. It was the way her voice trembled when she spoke to the doctor. I wasn't supposed to hear it. The doctor had given me something to help me relax, so I was supposed to be drowsy, almost asleep. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't drift off. My eyelids fluttered open, and through the haze, I heard my mom's soft whisper. I tried to convince myself I was imagining things. I had to be. But the words I heard didn't make sense. "Wait, not like this," she said. It was barely above a whisper, but the fear in her voice was unmistakable. What did she mean? I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I couldn't understand why she was so scared. We'd talked about this surgery 100 times before. It was supposed to be simple, nothing to worry about. But I could tell, in that moment, my mom wasn't being honest with me. Whatever she was hiding, whatever was wrong, I had to find out. I had to know what was happening. I tried to move, tried to speak, but the anesthesia had a firm grip on me. My mind raced, trying to piece everything together, but my vision blurred once again. I couldn't stay awake. All I could do was listen. The doctor's voice lowered, but I didn't catch the next words. The room felt like it was spinning, and everything went dark. But before I completely blacked out, I heard one last thing. My mom's voice, frantic. "No, don't do this. Please!" I wanted to scream, to ask her what was happening, but my body betrayed me. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. But I heard every word. And the truth was too horrifying to ignore. My name is Emily, and I've always been close to my mom, Linda. She's always been the one I turn to for comfort, advice, or even just a hug after a rough day. So when I found out I needed this surgery, I figured everything would be okay. I trusted her. She was always calm, collected, the rock in our family. But something was different this time. She'd been acting strangely ever since I'd been diagnosed with the condition that led to this surgery. At first, it seemed like nothing, just normal stress. But then it got worse. She would avoid talking about certain things, wouldn't let me see the full test results, and kept telling me the surgery would be easy and nothing to worry about. She said it so many times, I started to wonder if she was trying to convince herself, not just me. I had a sinking feeling that something wasn't right, but my mom was adamant that everything would be fine. She was keeping something from me, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. As I lay there, I started to hear bits and pieces of the conversation between the nurses. They thought I was asleep, so they didn't care if I overheard. I heard one nurse say something about needing to adjust the dosage, another mumble about a complication. I could barely focus through the haze, but it felt like I was being tossed around in a sea of confusion. The whispers from my mom didn't stop either. She was still standing there, close to my side, her face etched with fear. "Is it really necessary? Are you sure this is the only option?" I heard her ask the doctor. Her voice sounded strained, like she was holding back a flood of emotion. What was she asking? Why was she asking if it was necessary? Was this surgery really as routine as she'd been telling me? I could feel my pulse racing, but my body was too heavy to do anything. The more I listened, the more I realized how much my mom was trying to hide. I remembered how she would pace the house the night before my tests, how she refused to let me visit her when she had important phone calls. She'd been hiding something from me, and I had to know what it was. It was then that I heard the doctor's voice again, but this time it wasn't as reassuring. He sounded serious, and his words hit me like a ton of bricks. "We can't go forward with this. Not with her condition." He paused, then added, "It's too risky." I wasn't sure what that meant, but the fear in my mom's voice when she replied, "Do we have a choice?" made my heart skip a beat. My condition. What was going on? Was it worse than I'd been told? I tried to gather the strength to move, to speak, to ask them what was really happening, but the drugs were too strong. The room was spinning, and I could barely hear anything over the loud thumping of my own heartbeat. But then, my mom's voice cut through the noise. It was desperate. "You can't. You have to stop this. Please." I couldn't process it. My mind was screaming for answers, but my body refused to cooperate. What had my mom done? And what was it that she didn't want me to know? I couldn't stay asleep anymore. Something inside me snapped. I had to know what was going on. But what I learned? It was far worse than I could have imagined. I tried to fight the fog in my head, pushing against the anesthesia. But the more I fought, the more my vision blurred, like a thick veil was coming down over everything. I couldn't even remember what the surgery was supposed to fix, just that it had become something much more complicated. Something had changed in the room. The nurse closest to me shifted in my peripheral vision, and I heard a soft, muffled conversation. They were speaking about me, but I wasn't supposed to hear it. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I could feel the panic rising. It was like something inside me snapped. This wasn't just about the procedure anymore. I tried to focus, tried to make sense of the jumble of words around me. "We need to make a decision. It's too risky to continue." Those words hit me like a cold splash of water. I could barely keep my eyes open, but I knew I had to listen. There was something important in those sentences, something that would change everything. I felt the sharp pinch of another needle being inserted into my arm. The sensation was enough to jolt me awake for a split second. I blinked and caught sight of my mom's face. Her expression was a mix of terror and guilt. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking at the doctor, her face drawn and pale, her lips trembling. The doctor's voice broke through the thick air. "Linda, we don't have time. We're already past the point of no return. If we stop now, we might lose her." Her gasp was almost imperceptible, but I caught it. Her body stiffened, and I could tell she was fighting the urge to break down. The doctor's words made it clear. There was no turning back. Something was horribly wrong. Then, it hit me. This wasn't just about the surgery anymore. My mom hadn't been protecting me from a simple procedure. She'd been hiding something far more serious, a medical crisis that I didn't even know existed. And it was now clear that whatever it was bad. What did he mean by lose her? What had happened to me? I couldn't remember anything specific about my condition, only that it was something that required immediate attention. But now I knew. I'd been kept in the dark about just how serious it really was. My mom's whispers, her frantic questions, all of it pointed to something far darker than I could have imagined. Suddenly, the world felt colder, darker. My body felt numb, like I was slipping away. I could barely keep my eyes open, but I forced them to flutter, desperate to catch a glimpse of anything that would make sense of what was happening. And that's when I heard my mom's voice again, almost a sob, as she whispered, "I didn't know how to tell her. She can't find out. Not like this." I could barely process the words, but one thing was certain. Whatever was happening now, I hadn't been told the truth. What were they hiding from me? And why hadn't they been honest about my health? I was about to find out the truth that had been kept from me for so long. But what I didn't expect? It changed everything I thought I knew about my life. I tried to hold on to whatever consciousness I had left. Every second felt like a battle between my mind and my body, but the fog was closing in fast. And then, suddenly, I heard something I couldn't ignore. My mom's voice, low and shaking, almost like she was pleading with the doctor. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "We can't do this. You know we shouldn't have gone this far. She can't handle it, not like this." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mom had been hiding something from me, and it was big. My heart thudded harder as I realized that whatever this was, it wasn't just about the surgery. It was about my life. What had they been hiding, and why hadn't they told me the full truth? My mom had always been the one person who told me everything. Or so I thought. This was different. The doctor's voice came next, firm and almost cold. "Linda, it's too late for that now. She's already under. We can't just reverse the procedure." The words hit me like a punch in the gut. Reverse the procedure? What was he talking about? Had they already started something they couldn't stop? Why hadn't they told me sooner? What was happening to me? I could feel the panic rising, but I couldn't move or speak. I could hear my mom start to cry. It wasn't a soft sob. It was something deeper, something desperate. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I didn't want you to find out this way. I didn't want you to know." My mind raced. Whatever was happening, I was in the middle of it now. They couldn't reverse it, but what exactly was this procedure they were talking about? Why had she kept it from me? And why was she apologizing? The room felt suffocating. I could hardly breathe. I didn't know if I was going to make it through this, if I could even stay conscious long enough to figure out what was happening. But there was one thing I was sure of. I had to know the truth. I could feel my body grow heavier, like the anesthesia was pulling me deeper into a dark abyss. But before I slipped into unconsciousness, I heard one final whisper from my mom, and it made my stomach drop. "I didn't know how to tell her that she's been living with a heart condition for months, and that the surgery might be too late." Heart condition? The words barely registered before I was gone. I couldn't process it. My heart, a condition I didn't even know I had? And now, a surgery that might have been too late? I was running out of time. Everything felt like it was slipping away. Was this my last moment? What did this mean for my future? The darkness swallowed me whole, and for a moment, I couldn't tell if I would ever wake up again. I woke up in a dimly lit recovery room, the sharp scent of antiseptic still hanging in the air. My head was foggy, my body sore, but something inside me felt different. There was a weight to the silence, a heaviness in the air that made me instinctively know something was wrong. I blinked slowly, my eyes adjusting to the room around me, and there, sitting beside my bed, was my mom. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen from crying, but there was something in her gaze that made everything hit me at once. The truth. "Emily," she whispered, her voice shaky. "I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to find out like this." I tried to sit up, but the pain hit me, reminding me that I had just undergone a major procedure. I remembered flashes, the whispers, the doctor's voice, and then the words my mom had spoken about a heart condition. But it didn't make sense. How could I have been living with something that serious and not known about it? My mom reached out and took my hand gently, her touch warmer now. She looked at me, with tears still streaking down her cheeks. "Emily, you've been living with a heart condition for months. It was serious, but I didn't want you to know. I didn't want you to be scared. And when the surgery came up, we thought it was just a simple procedure to help with your other issues. But they found out how bad your heart was, and we couldn't wait any longer." I stared at her, feeling my emotions swell. Betrayal, fear, relief, a mix of everything. I had trusted her. She was my rock, and yet she had kept something so important from me. But I knew. She did it because she loved me, because she couldn't bear to see me live in fear. The weight of that hit me all at once. I felt angry, but also thankful. If it wasn't for this surgery, I might not have known how much danger I was in. The consequences of everything that had unfolded were still clear in my mind. I wasn't sure how things would change between me and my mom. There was still so much we had to talk about. The truth had come out, but it didn't erase the hurt. The surgery had gone well, but it had been risky. The doctors had to work quickly, but I made it through. I was lucky, but the reality hit harder than I expected. As for my mom, she was still sitting there, guilt written all over her face. "I should have told you, Emily. I should have been honest. But I thought if I kept it from you, you wouldn't have to worry. I just wanted to protect you." Her voice cracked with emotion. "I'm sorry." Her apology felt like it was hanging in the air. The silence between us was filled with everything unspoken. I didn't have all the answers, but in that moment, I understood. The surgery wasn't just about fixing my body. It had opened the door to a truth I wasn't ready for, but needed. My mom and I would have to rebuild our trust, but we could. And more importantly, I could face whatever came next with the knowledge that I was stronger than I thought. I squeezed her hand, the words coming out more easily than I expected. "We'll be okay, Mom. We'll get through this. Together." The moment was bittersweet, but it was a start, a new beginning. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid anymore.